Jane Unchained Live Talk with the extraordinary Claudine Wilkins in Atlanta, getting ready to launch the Animal Protection Expo. It is going to be dynamic. Tell us all about it, Claudine.
Well, it's our 22nd annual conference. Can you believe that? And every year it gets bigger and bigger. And we have this year over 40 speakers coming from all backgrounds, scientists, veterinarians, animal control, prosecutors, animal advocates, shelter directors, rescue folks, even people in the digital marketing world and the nonprofit world. I know everybody's taken a hit this year with COVID. So we've got some folks that are going to teach us how to survive COVID in the nonprofit sector, and so many speakers, including you, Jane.
Yes. And here's what I thought was so dynamic about it. They created actual virtual booths. Look at this booth they created for me. I was blown away. And they also created another booth for Jane Unchained's vegan cooking show on Amazon Prime, New Day, New Chef. So this is incredibly sophisticated. I got to tell you guys, 40 speakers, absolutely incredible information. You can sign up right now at animalprotectionexpo.org. And before we learn all about the amazing Claudine Wilkins and her work as an attorney using her skills to help animals, let's take a look at one of her major investigations that really broke the case wide open when it came to dog breeders' puppy mills. So that was absolutely incredible. Tell us, those they look like German shepherds, what went down with that? And you as an attorney and an animal activist, what was your role?
I got a call, and apparently the authorities really weren't doing what needed to be done. And it was January of last year, 2019. It was kind of a warm day for winter, and went down there with a crew of people that I call on when we need to go onto the fields, into the dirt. And I was shocked. I've always loved this beautiful breed, and the German Shepherd is a special animal in my life. As a child, we've always had one. But when I got down there, I wasn't ready to see that cattle pens were where these dogs were kept. Not one tree, not one piece of shade. They were clamoring to get on top of these little igloos. And it was actually hot in January that day. And not only was there no place to sit down, it was muck and mud and water, even inside the igloos. And many had infections in their eyes and their fur covered in mange. And it wasn't just that. And we're talking, in this one particular location, over 100 dogs, but the entire breeding operation was around 400 German Shepherds, all of which were being sold on the internet.
And so you broke that down. And one of the things that you're going to learn at this expo, and I urge everybody to register, is you're going to learn what laws work for animals and which animals. I'm actually the keynote speaker, and I'm so honored and humbled to be the keynote speaker. You had Nancy Grace in past years, who was one of my former colleagues, but I actually focus on factory farming. But that's great, because what we can do is form a commonality, people who love dogs, people who love horses, and also then expand that circle of compassion to factory farmed animals, who are the vast majority of animals being raised in horrific conditions and killed every year. Where do you see the animal rights movement? You're based in Atlanta. You're very very close to law enforcement. You work with law enforcement, busting these puppy mills. Do you see the movement from your perspective expanding to include other animals as well, Claudine?
I do, Jane. I mean, if you take a snapshot over the last 25 years, think about the progress that has been made. We didn't have Animal Planet or National Geographic. Most little kids wanted to become a veterinarian, and now there's a lot of professions within the world of animal welfare. But the amount of pets in people's homes has just dramatically increased. The products we sell for pet industry has increased. There's an awareness, if you will, of pet products, pet association. And when folks connect with their own pet, that connection usually starts to grow into farm animals. And there is a connection there. So the connection's building stronger and stronger. And I will tell you, I've been training for about 25 years now. I used to be a prosecutor, and it was one case that prompted me to do this conference back in 1998. And it was law enforcement that brought it to my attention. They said, look, we're tired of working these cases up and nobody in your office is doing anything. You prosecutors just take our cases and dump on them and leave them in the trash, or, let them get stale. And so under my watch, I said, that's going to change. I said, what we're going to do is try to find a way to get inside these offices and train prosecutors and judges and law enforcement and animal control to be together, to work together. And that was the impetus for our conference 22 years ago, which is to take everybody involved in an animal cruelty case and put them in the same room so that everybody knows what their job is to do. But you also have to have awareness. You can't just educate ourselves out of this problem. You have to have awareness. That means teaching people how to be responsible, and also, good legislation as well. So it's legislation, education, awareness are some of the key factors that are needing for change, big change.
40 organizations are participating in your conference, which is happening this Thursday, October 29th, Friday, October 30th. Get your tickets now. It's incredible. Let's meet. Speaking of laws, a woman from one of the most powerful organizations when it comes to creating laws and defending animals in court, and that's Animal Legal Defense Fund.
I'm Emily Lewis with the Criminal Justice Program at the Animal Legal Defense Fund. I focus on providing direct support to law enforcement, prosecutors, and animal rescue entities in the investigation and prosecution of animal cruelty cases. I'll be speaking about animal hoarding at the Animal Protection and Wellness Expo next week. All animals need our protection, and farmed animals also suffer neglect, just like the companion animals I'll be talking about in my presentation. That's why the Animal Legal Defense Fund produces state-specific farmed animal prosecution guides we distribute to prosecutors in those states.
So many people say they want to help animals, but what do I do? Well, they go to this expo, they will find out exactly what to do, and also whether they have specific skills that can dovetail with certain causes. For example, you're going to have somebody who produces documentaries that involve animals. So if people are editors or videographers or photographers or journalists or writers, anybody in that field in the arts can then learn how to use their skills to help animals. So I'm just amazed at how sophisticated. There are a lot of online conferences, but I have yet to see one. And I got to go back to this because I was pretty impressed.
Hi, I'm Vito Maria from the Maria Group, and I will be speaking about digital marketing and fundraising in the post-COVID world. Bruno and I would like to thank Claudine Wilkins for putting on the Animal Protection and Wellness Expo for the 22nd consecutive year, and a big thank you to the conference keynote speaker, Jane Velez-Mitchell, who's been a lifelong champion for all animals and who's leading the efforts to end factory farming that is the largest cause of animal suffering and abuse in our world. See you all at the conference.
And I was so blown away that I have to show this again because I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I've been to many, many conferences and I've never had a booth this nice. So thank you for that. So you created booths for all of the 40 speakers and the various organizations involved. And, yes, there you go. It's going to be virtual, but this conference is going to feel like you're right there. You can register right now at animalprotectionexpo.org. So how are the registrations going?
Incredible. I think the virtual platform makes it easy for people not to have to get in their car, drive, and spend the night in a hotel. We do love live conferences. That's what we've done for the last 21 years. Great place to network, have a drink with friends, and get to know people. But, COVID has forced us to change our lives, and it has actually been for the better because there are no borders. We've got worldwide audience now, people from Russia, Australia, all over the United States, somebody from South America. So I think it's great. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And we are able to have more speakers this way because the cost is not as high. So it's been good.
Well, I know that I was very honored to be one of the speakers, and I thank you for that. My message is everybody who loves animals, if we all came together, we could end animal cruelty like that. We need to realize that it's not about the particular species. It's about what we collectively as the human species are doing to animals. Now, major news organizations just in the last couple of days have reported that humans have killed 68% of all wildlife on this planet within the last 50 years. 68%. We have done in the last few days interviews with environmentalists and animal activists in the Pantanal in Brazil. We know the Amazon's on fire, primarily to create cattle grazing land, and being encouraged by the government to destroy this priceless forest. But there's a lesser known wetlands in Brazil, the world's largest wetlands called the Pantanal. It's on the southern edge of Brazil and it spills over into some other Latin American countries. It is also on fire. I interviewed the woman and she was crying live on camera saying, "We are rescuing jaguars with their paws on fire." How do we mobilize? You are an incredible organizer, prosecuting attorney. You've mobilized all these people. How do we mobilize everybody to say enough? We've got a pandemic that's a zoonotic disease that jumped from animals to humans. If we weren't abusing animals as a species, we wouldn't be in this pandemic. It's only getting worse. We've got climate change, which is being caused in large part by animal agriculture, which also causes deforestation, wildlife extinction, habitat destruction, human world hunger, because animals are eating, the conservative estimate is 36% of all crops grown. Others say it's far higher than that. And they don't produce as much food as they consume. So we've got that. We've got then animals being tortured in laboratories because now we've created this pandemic. Instead of thinking about, well, how do we change to prevent a future pandemic? Now we're just ripping all these monkeys from the wild and putting them in labs and giving them illnesses because of our own flaws. But everybody loves animals. How do we get them together and collectively become a force for change? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts. That's a loaded question, Jane, but I will try to do my best. First, it starts with the individual. And it starts with the children as well. We know that massive change can happen, all right? We know that from history and how cultures have changed, how they treat people, how women are treated has changed. We see that. Imagine the status of a woman in America versus the status of a woman in a third world country. I won't name one, but we have a lot more opportunity. So it starts with a change in the individual, how we teach our children what they are supposed to learn when they grow up, to be compassionate, to have the connection. And then, I always look at it this way. Animal law was not something on anybody's radar about 30 years ago or 25 years ago. Nobody was teaching animal law in our law schools. Only 2 schools taught it. when I went to law school in 1996. Now, almost every law school teaches animal law. Those lawyers then become judges, and judges and lawyers often become lawmakers. And so they understand the connection. Environmental law was the same plateau as animal law is now. It's plateauing. And so it takes a while, but it's things like what you're doing. It's the individual. It's my muse was Jane Goodall when I was a young girl in the 70s. This tiny woman about an inch taller than me, went into the jungles of Africa and look what she did. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that a camera was expressing her world to the rest of us. If not for that camera and her message and her shows and her, picture on National Geographic, I may not be where I am right now. So she was a huge inspiration for me as a young girl when we only had 3 channels on the, TV. And in law school, I got to interview her. So it was full circle for me. And, it's awareness, it's change. We have the internet, social media, really it's people engaging and being engaged and then saying, okay, I heard that message. Now, what am I going to do about it? And you have to personally make the change, whatever that change may be.
I love it. And I love the fact that this is happening in Atlanta. I feel that, first of all, Atlanta, wow, so much exciting stuff happening there. A media center, now a center for movies. Movies are being made. That's being called the New Hollywood. And animal protection. I know one of my dear friends, Anna Ware, has started a hospice for senior dogs who are abandoned in shelters. And that's just one incredible project in the Atlanta area. So I think it's really important to make this movement something that crosses all geographic lines, all ethnic lines, all age lines, and really, as my buddy Earthling Ez says, we're all Earthlings, and we need to protect the animals because without them, we do not survive. And we are barreling toward a climate catastrophe. I've just been researching the carbon bomb that essentially, as the glaciers melt, there's a lot of carbon that's stored under there. And if it gets to a point where they melt too much, that carbon is released, which is going to accelerate climate change. So it's a feedback loop that is very self-destructive. We are running out of time. And that's why I think what you're doing is very, very powerful. So what would you tell folks about signing up to this incredible conference that's happening October 29th and 30th? It's right here at the door. By the way, once you join, you can watch a lot of these videos. There's 40 speakers. You can watch them for months on end. You don't have to just sit in front of your computer for 2 days straight. Tell us about that.
Well, we realize that people are zoomed out and they don't want to sit in front of a computer for 2 days straight. And because we have so much content and we have 2 separate tracks during each day, we expanded the viewing time to January 1st. So you can watch it at your leisure with some popcorn or a glass of wine if you want to. But you can also watch it live because we wanted to produce a live show. And what's great about it is, Jane, this is very important. I think you have to speak the person, your audience has a different language. Each audience member that's coming to this expo has a different background. For example, we have police officers coming, right? And if I told a police officer, hey, you're going to learn from an expert in criminology about the connection between the dark web, child pornography, and human trafficking, and the correlation between sex crimes against animals, because there's a direct correlation there, they would be stunned. Some of them don't know that there is a portal to that world through chasing these cases. And then I'm going to be talking to people that get it. There's the connection already there, but they want to learn more about how they can get very active and what they can do on a daily basis. So we've got a scientist coming to talk about the new emerging diseases that is related to heartworm. It's amazing the different diversity in our courses. And our audience members are very diverse too. We've got everything from judges to prosecutors to law enforcement, animal control, rescue, animal welfare, plant-based folks, scientists, veterinarians, vet techs, animal behaviorists, dog trainers, Victoria Stillwell from former Animal Planet show,
Woo.
and renowned author. She will be one of our speakers as well. Dr. Jeff Young from the Animal Planet Rocky Mountain Vet is coming to speak about spaying and neutering. It's just what I always wanted to do, Jane, is have a very diverse audience with a diverse content. But what you can do is simply get onto animalprotectionexpo.org. It's actually very cheap compared to most conferences. And if you live in Georgia, we've offered a lot of continuing education credits for all of our audience members. Everybody gets a certificate of completion when they're done. And, you know, it's everybody else's conference. It's not mine. It's not our organization's. It's for the people. It's for the animals. So I always say it's everyone's conference.
Well, I am so excited. I know that it's going to be fantastic. I urge everybody to sign up. And I just want to say it's been such a pleasure working with you, Claudine. And let's stay in touch, because I do feel that we are at a tipping point. And we all need to come together and tip us over the top, and get the dog lovers and the horse lovers and the lovers of all different species together as one force, one potent force, strength in numbers. Thank you so much, Claudine.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you for what you do.
Talk soon and sign up for this expo.